Good evening once again. I hope you enjoyed the film. Very intense experience. And to talk about it more with us is the director, Bogdan. Bogdan, could you please come up?
Thank you so much. For us Romanians, it's a comedy. It's not intense.
Well, there are elements of humor, which is great. Yeah, especially the inspector and his relationship with the subordinate. Yeah. But then that also becomes manipulation too. So everything that you think is going in one direction, the movie takes you in another direction. So there's a lot of misdirections and red herrings.
That's true. And first of all, there's a lesson I learned with my first movie 9 years ago. It was very dark, it was very heavy, and had absolutely no humor. Of course, this is not a comedy, it has a little bit of humor here and there. And I realized the darker the movie it is, the more the need for comedy. And I think it's true in reverse. A comedy needs to have a serious core, otherwise it won't function, otherwise it's just jokes. And regarding the second part I mentioned, I think maybe having been educated in the United States, where I learned film directing, the respect for the audience is enormous. So when I write, I always think about not necessarily misdirections, but how I divulge information, how I parse the exposition. So in a lot of movies nowadays, the first 10 minutes you learn absolutely everything there is to know about the characters, just so you can start the story. For me, I think exposition can happen even at the end, even in the climax. So I take that from life, actually, because I always say that. I don't know you that well. Now I know you because we spent 2 hours together during the film. But if I were to put a secret camera on you that would follow you from 24 hours, I would not get a lot in the first 10 minutes, in the first 1 hour. I learn little by little. Oh, you have a wife. Oh, you're worried about a friend who's sick. That's why you were on the phone. So it's not necessarily red herrings and misdirections, even though they might function like this. I think it's replicating the pace and the rhythm of life, where you learn information about a character, about a story, about a situation, drop by drop or hour by hour. So that's what I was trying to do in the movie. Something where no matter where you are in the movie, you find out a little bit more about the characters. And I think it comes from life, not from from a desire to trick the audience necessarily. But definitely it has that benefit of making the movie more engaging, hopefully.
It does, definitely. The film is divided into two distinct halves that are shot on the same locations from different perspectives with different characters doing different things. So you mentioned the mirror, the book, having two sides of the same coin, of the same book in the scenes. So maybe you could explain your thinking and your process there as well.
And by the way, when you're talking, I love this wind. I have so much wind in the movie, and I realize that maybe the wind enhanced the movie even more, and you don't know which wind is in the real life, which is the best thing, or which wind is in the movie. Absolutely. And strangely enough, the idea for this movie came completely formed. It was very strange. I got the idea of a movie divided in 2 chapters, like a book opening. And the second book is almost like a Xerox copy of the first one with the modifications. The story to me, that is a love story, among other things, of course. But you don't know about the love up until, 3/4 into the movie. So that's why apparently there are 2 chapters which are barely connected by a police investigation thread. But I wanted to prepare the viewers for a much deeper emotional connection between the 2 chapters. Obviously, the police inspector has a strong personal reason to investigate this case. He shouldn't be even taking the case in the first place. And in the end, I tried, like I said, not just the same locations, but the same sounds, for example. So the sound effects that you hear in the monastery in the beginning are the exact sound effects you hear 1 hour later. Of course, you don't consciously realize that, but you subconsciously realize it. The same dog you hear here, you hear the same dog half an hour later. The birds are exactly the same birds. So trying in a way to intertwine, to unite the two halves. They're listening to the same kind of music. In the end, I don't want to make this answer too long, but in the end, I was trying to create a conflict between the apparently very realistic style of shooting it and in the end, the artificiality of the structure. Because if you think about it, it's very mathematical. It starts in the monastery, the first half, the second half starts in the monastery room. She goes in the courtyard, he goes in the courtyard. Long discussion in the taxi, long discussion with Mishu in the car. She arrives at the bridge, he arrives at the bridge, and so forth. What saves me, and I hope it didn't feel artificial to you, it's exactly that police thriller structure where you would expect a police inspector to follow the traces of the character. So that mathematical mirroring is built in the structure, is built in the plot, is built in the story, so it doesn't draw attention to it.
Yeah, it definitely didn't draw attention to itself in a negative way. I know how the sausage is made, so you see the seams, and especially after you see the movie, you analyze it a bit more. But what I also wanted to ask you was, this is part 2 of a trilogy.
Correct.
So part 1 is a movie I haven't seen, but I will definitely seek out and see. But since this is the second part, do you think it would be more clear to audiences if they saw the first part? Would it be more of an immersive experience watching the second movie then?
Not necessarily. I think it'll be a more immersive experience because what I'm trying to do with this trilogy is to have 3 completely separate stories. So actually, having not seen the first movie, you are not losing anything. What you're losing is a little bit of like texturing and connections. Main characters in one movie become secondary characters in the second and vice versa. So almost all the characters you saw here, the same characters, not just the same actors, play parts in the first movie. So you're enjoying it a bit more because you realize, oh, here's a doctor from Miracle in the other movie. Sometimes there's a little bit of an open ending in the first movie, and if you know the first movie, you can actually see the close ending here. It's out of focus and in the background. But again, outside of those clean E's, as the French say, you're not losing anything. But it enhances the structure, it enhances the fact that these 3 stories are part of the same universe, the same larger constellations of characters.
Right. So we just don't talk among ourselves. I'd like to open questions to the audience. If anyone has a question for Bogdan. Does anyone want to ask the director anything? Yes? Go ahead, please.
I can repeat the question. You didn't understand the ending, correct? The ending, number 1, you should not necessarily understand the ending because it's art. It's not logical. It's in the heart for me. So I don't want to cheat and say necessarily that I left it up to interpretation, even though I left it. But to me, naming the film Miracle, I wanted to let you know, and maybe you'll think about the movie later, and a lot of people are telling me that they're thinking about the movie days later, that there was a miracle there. The nun actually died while he was interrogating the suspect, and the nun created a miracle from him, propelled him back in time. So after he killed the taxi driver, he was back in time where he was before, ready to make the same choice or not again, and he doesn't make the same choice. So to me, it was a miracle in time. That was the ending about. Maybe you're confused by the tear as well, that you're thinking if she was alive or not, but again, Dostoevsky is not reality. So the tear for me was, it's a funny story about the tear. The tear is not logical, again, the tear is emotional. I knew that it would confuse a little bit. People will still think if she's alive or not. To me, she's dead. She's in a morgue about to get an autopsy, which is even more horrible because she is pregnant with a kid, but she is dead. What happened during the shooting, it was very hard for the actress to stay still for 2 minutes. Not move a muscle, not breathe, not for 2 minutes. But of course I have a pen, so she could breathe a little bit and I would tell her now. The camera was onto her. And because of the effort, and purely because of the effort, it wasn't in the script, a tear started to form and fell.
I thought that was certainly CGI.
Oh, you saw that?
I thought it was CGI.
You're the second person who... In the other movie, I also have a tear, which was not in the script, was not CGI, and somebody told me it's CGI. Which is actually interesting to think about, and nowadays we don't trust what we see.
Actually, I thought it was a decision in post-production. No. But then after speaking with you, I realized that it wasn't.
Yeah.
So
I have very little, of course, the gun shots are CGI, but outside of that, I have zero. Everything is done in the camera, including the one taken. But no, so the tear just happened naturally, but when I saw it, I was actually very happy. Again, it's confusing on a logical level, but on an emotional level, I think it makes perfect sense in a movie called Miracle, about love, about sacrifice, about faith, to have that happen. So when I saw it on set, I realized I have an ending, and I said, I'm just going to let it drop a little bit for 2 seconds and cut. So you're not sure if you saw it or you didn't see it. On a big screen, you see it. Sometimes on a small screen, when people see it on TV, by the way, on HBO, people will probably not see it. On a big screen, you actually see it. I was very happy, and it's very rare to get an ending on set. Ending is the hardest thing to get in a movie. So actually, knowing that it might confuse a little bit, I was extremely happy that I got it. I could also talk very short about another little, that to me was a little miracle in the film that happened. The other very interesting story I would like to talk about is the hospital scene when they meet and they talk for the first time, the police inspector, and he realizes he's the father of the child. Because of the low budget, we couldn't put a green screen on the AKJ machine. So we actually connected the actress to a real AKJ machine, to the heart with a sensor and everything. And after 18, 19 takes, I was happy, but wasn't truly emotional. So I said to them, we'll do 2 more takes, and I want you to let the emotion go. You haven't seen each other for a long time. You have a lot of guilt, I told the police inspector, because you haven't answered her phone calls. You just found out she was pregnant, she was assaulted, everything. And also you were trying so desperate. Anyway, I won't tell you what I told them, and then all of it. I said 2 more takes and let it go. And they became so emotional, and it's in the movie, that the machine started, her heart rate went from 54 to 167. And she wasn't moving at all. So it was just the inner emotion, the inner storm. And even the actress told me, I don't know what happened. I just fell into the truth of the situation. And the little miracle for me was there was a machine there to actually record. The machine thought it's a medical situation, a medical alarm. So the machine went beeping, like beep, beep, beep.
I thought that was all post-production. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, but the funny thing is when we did the sound, the technicians, being technicians and not artists, when I got there at 9 a.m. that particular day, we did sound for a month. I said very proudly, I have good news for you. We woke up at 6 a.m. to make you happy, and we erased all those beeps. So I said, no, put them back in. They're part of the movie. They're part of the emotion of the scene. So that actually happened. And to me, it was a scientific instrument proving that truthful acting exists. We don't just talk about an actor falling into a situation and being very truthful, but this was the proof of it. We always knew it, but for me, it was a great little moment where science met art in a way.
It was empirical.
Yes.
Definitely. Any other questions for Bogdan? So maybe you could just tell us a little bit maybe about shooting the film. So you shot the first film of the trilogy and the second film simultaneously.
Yeah.
And the first one is stylistically much different from the second one. So juggling those things must have been pretty hard at some points.
That was, I think, both a crazy thing to do and an incredible thing to do, because the pandemic hit right after. We shot it in the summer of 2019. If I didn't shoot them at the same time, I would probably just finish shooting this one. It was crazy because the 2 styles are completely different. One has many more cuts, much more conventionally covered. This one has only 42 shots, slow pace. I wouldn't call it slow because a lot of people actually say that it's not that slow. Maybe the first part moves a little bit slower as we get into the story and get to know the characters. But that was the crazy part. We shot one movie for 2 days, then we moved to the other movie for 3 days, then 2 days back to the other movie. Sometimes we had half days up to lunch and after lunch. And being stylistically different, every morning we had to sort of, the whole crew had to recalibrate itself and say, okay, today we're shooting Miracle, where every shot is one scene, and tomorrow we're shooting Unidentified. That's the first movie where, we can shoot 15 shots in one day. So it wasn't a physical burden to shoot 2 movies at the same time, as some people might think. It was mostly an emotional and psychological challenge.
So when can we expect the third installment?
The third, I'm finishing writing this year. Hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll shoot next year. And if we come back to Pula, 2 years from now.
Okay, great. We're looking forward to it.
Me too.
Thank you, Bogdan, very much for sharing the movie with us and for having this talk with us. It was very illuminating. And thank you all for attending this evening. And I'd like to remind you all just to fill out your voting slips. So 5 is the highest number.
That's it.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. Of course, I really want to thank you for coming here, watching the film, and if you want to ask me any questions while I'm around here, you can still ask me if you didn't want to ask loudly. But that's why we make movies, to show it to people. So that, to me, this evening is the highlight of me coming to Pula. So thank you very much.
Thank you.